Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Shy Girl Speaks. I am Jacqueline Peraza, and I will be the certified yapper in your ear for the next hour or so. You guys, welcome back to Shy Girl Speaks. Honestly, it's been such a long time since I sat behind the camera, behind the mic, and just recorded an episode, but I wanted to kind of give somewhat of a life update and kind of explain why I took a 3-week hiatus from filming and uploading. And that is simply because I needed to reconnect. I needed to go touch some grass, for lack of better words. I feel that I launched myself into Shy Girl Speaks really excitedly. And while I received so much feedback, positive feedback, and so much love for those first 2 episodes, and I took those 3 weeks to sit down and re-listen to my podcast and kind of like figure out a structure for it that I wanted to better grasp and move forward with. So that brings us to this era of Shy Girl Speaks, where, as you guys may or may not know, I have now a little podcast studio set up that I'm working on. It is a work in progress. You guys may recognize some of these pillows, but they're some of the throw pillows that I used for the cover art, photography, whatever you want to call it, for the podcast cover. That made no sense. So these throw pillows were part of the photo shoot I did to get the cover art for this podcast. So I figured it was a little cute full circle moment while I kind of get everything else figured out. It's a little plain right now for the viewers on YouTube, but it is going to look super cute. I'm super excited. If you guys have any suggestions on like what I should put on the walls, if I should put anything on the walls. I'm thinking of getting a carpet for down here just to kind of help with the sound a little bit. So I apologize if it's a little bit echoey. So this is what I have so far. And this has been a couple weeks in the making. And I will admit something to you guys, a little secret, but those first 2 episodes I recorded that went up, I filmed months ago. And I wanted to use them as pilot episodes to figure out what it is that I liked. Like I was literally psychoanalyzing myself, trying to be a better podcast host, listening to different podcasts on how to podcast, watching videos and stuff. And so for the time being, this is the setup. I'm so excited. I love yapping so much. And I feel that my unintentional social media break, kind of like from October to the beginning of this month, November was a very chill month for me in terms of literally taking the opportunity to reconnect with my family, with my friends, and with things that truly make me happy. Because 2025 has been a year, let's just say that. It's been a year of like really coming to realize what it is that I value, what's important to me, and where I want to take my life. And Shy Girl Speaks is one of those things that I want to move forward with because it's been something that I've dreamed of ever since I listened to my first podcast back in like 2017. Or maybe it was 2018. The first podcast I ever listened to was the What We Said podcast by JC and Chelsea. I was a freshman in college. I had just gotten my car and I was like so over music. None of the music I was listening to was hitting. And so then Spotify recommended a podcast. And at that point, I think it had maybe like a couple thousand listeners. I think it was more like maybe like 500,000 listeners or something like that. And now they're huge. Ever since I started listening to What We Said, I just knew that I wanted to podcast as well. The last couple of weeks I've been reflecting, spending time with my family, and just plotting for Shy Girl Speaks and for the next year. So I'm really excited to share that journey with you guys. But for the time being, so much has happened since I recorded those last 2 episodes. And I'm going to do like a bullet point list of everything I've done and how it's like low-key kind of healed me. So first and foremost, in September, I went to the Lorde concert in Austin, and that was so much fun. If you guys know me, you guys know that I am a true Lorde stan. I've been listening to Lorde since I was 13 when her first album came out, and like Team and Royals and all of those songs were trending on the Billboard. I remember I was just like listening to the album on repeat, and ever since then, she has released a new album at like, let's say in 20, I think she released like Melodrama in like 2017, her second album. And then she released like, Solar Power, and then she released Virgin, which is a concert that she was touring for this last time. And being able to hear all of my favorite songs live was truly life-changing. Nobody prepares you for the feeling you get when you literally watch your favorite artist for the first time live. And it was one of the very first times that I couldn't even cry. Like, I was so shocked and so starstruck at the fact that Ella was standing right in front of me. And then towards the end of the concert, she sang Ribs. And that is one of my favorite songs of all time. And no song can like viscerally make me cry the way that Ribs can. And like watching it being performed literally 10 feet in front of me was just like life altering. I could go on and on and on about how special that concert was to me, but yeah, like I was in such shock that I couldn't even cry. And even then, to this day, I feel that it really hasn't hit me that I watched Lorde in person. And then also, it was like the best part about it was that it was her opening night of her ultrasound tour. And like, hello, I got to like witness it. Yeah, so that was really fun. And then in October, I went back to Austin for ACL, and I tried recording this episode like a little while ago, and I really tried to deep dive into ACL. And for those of you guys who don't know, ACL is Austin City Limits. It is a music festival in Austin. And this year, the lineup, honestly, is what convinced me to go. I didn't have a really good first experience with ACL. I went back when I was 19, in 2019. I remember I went mostly to see one of my favorite bands, and then I watched basically almost every single set list or like performance by myself. And so as a 19-year-old, that wasn't really fun. But this year, I saw that they released the lineup back in May. And I saw that it was Luke Combs, Sabrina Carpenter, John Summit, and then obviously like the people above it or right below it were also really good. So I was like, you guys, like we have to go to ACL. And some of my friends had never been. I think most of the people who I went with had never been to ACL. And I wouldn't necessarily call myself a ACL vet because by no means was I prepared. But I think we definitely like over prepared for the festival, and that was really, really helpful. But something that nobody prepares you for is just the amount of pain that you're going to be in day after day, from walking, from wearing uncomfortable shoes, from the dehydration, from being hungover. And it was just like one of those things where the crew you go with to a music festival, you guys have to prepare that there is a chance that you guys are not going to make it out alive, friends. But I'm here to say that my crew did, and I think it's because we over prepared. We had water bottles, we had collapsible water bottles, we had fans, we had chairs, we had stools, we had blister patches, anything you could name, we had it. But what we did not have the knowledge on was the physical toll that a 3-day music festival in Austin, Texas was going to have on our body. We went weekend 2. One thing we had seen a lot on TikTok, because TikTok is obviously everything you see on TikTok is real, right? Just kidding. We basically saw so many TikToks saying that the dust weekend 2 was going to be horrendous because the weekend before they tend to the grass all year and it's nice and green. And by the time that weekend 1 is done, the grass is dead with all of these people stomping all over it, dropping things, littering. So like it was just all dirt by the time we got there. And at the end of every single day, when we'd get back to the Airbnb and we'd shower, I would blow my nose, and I kid you not, my boogers were black. Black. I've never, ever, ever in my life have seen that, but it was because of the dust. Feet were sore. We literally had to do like an Epsom salt bath one of the days because we were down bad. But other than the physical toll it took on my grandma body, I want to say like the music experience was fun. By far, my favorite sets were obviously the headliners, Luke Combs, Sabrina Carpenter, and John Summit. Specifically John Summit, because that feeling that I felt, and I know so many people in the crowd felt, was just like, we were, like me sounding all hippie, but like we were all one. And everybody was genuinely just getting along and vibing to the music. And that music was just so much fun. It was the best set. And Sabrina Carpenter was also really fun for the girls, but everything in between, the heat, the dust, the dehydration of it all was just not fun. So will I be doing ACL again? I don't know. I really don't know. But I'm glad I went this year. I think I needed to get it out of my system. And I feel like the set list lineup was worth it. Now, if they release a sick lineup next year, if Dua Lipa goes to ACL, catch me there. Maybe I'll just do the day pass and just go for one day because I don't know if I can handle 3 days. It was just brutal. But then if going to Austin twice was not enough, I went again last month in November because my cousin turned 25, and for her 25th birthday she wanted to come to Texas and spend a weekend in Austin. So of course I delivered because my love language is gift giving and trip planning. I love trips. I love getting gifts. In a perfect world, I think I would be a party planner or like a bachelorette planner or a birthday trip planner because I love all the details that go into planning a trip, making somebody feel special. And so like this was my time to shine. So my cousin flew from Arizona into McAllen, picked her up, and then the following day, which was Friday, we spent Friday through Sunday in Austin, and we had such a great time. My best friend Vale also joined us. I have not had so much fun like that with my girls in such a long time. It was needed for my soul. I felt so girly, so like we giggled, we watched the reality TV, we drank the wine, we had the dinners, we took the pictures, like we did it all. And it was just so healing, and getting to spend that time with my cousin and my best friend. And like my cousin Daniela, if you're watching this, like we've been like this. I am a couple months older than her, and since we were born, basically, I think I would say we've been inseparable. Like she's been my girl, my other half. And so one of the hardest parts about living so far away from home is that she's not close to me. So like we've just been able to stay in such good contact over the years, and like when I see her, I don't take any of that time for granted. It's like I'm reunited with my sister. So spending that weekend with her in Austin was amazing. And also with Valeria, like it goes without saying, Valeria, if you guys know me, you guys know Valeria. She's like my other half, my bestie. So having that shared experience with both of them was just so much fun. I love it. We took so many pictures, and it was just a great experience. So this is your sign to go to Austin for your birthday, or just to plan a trip for your birthday, because it was so much fun. So much fun. I had to say goodbye to my cousin on Tuesday. And then on Friday, later that week, we drove to Arizona. And by we, I mean my family and my grandparents. Like we drove to Arizona. We did the 16-hour road trip so that we could spend 9 days back at home for Thanksgiving. And honestly, it was just so healing, and something I definitely took for granted growing up was the fact that, you know, the holidays we spent with family. And like, not to say that my family, like my parents and my grandparents and my brother, like, not that I'm like complaining about spending the holidays with them here, because that is not at all the case. But I know that they understand what I mean when I say like the holidays just haven't been the same since we moved. Because before it was like we would go to 2 different parties, like my dad's side and my mom's side. And we were just surrounded by everyone, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins. And like, it was just so much fun. And then we moved away, and then going back, this was actually the first time that we went back home for the holidays since we moved. So it's been like over 11 years since we spent the holidays with family, or at least me and my brother. It's also really expensive to travel home for the holidays. And, you know, the drive is 16 hours. So, but I'm really happy that we went. I was able to see my cousins, my aunts. I met up with Daniela again, obviously. I'm not going to go back home and not spend time with her. But it was just so cool to drive around the place that I grew up in and just kind of like reminisce, and also see how important all of those places still are to me today. Like we went to my uncle's Western wear store, and like seeing the process and like the love he has for his craft also just like made me realize like all of my family means so much to me, and like seeing them have their own passions, my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, like seeing their role back home just like fills my heart with so much joy. And everything I do over here is to make them proud. So those 9 days, like with my grandparents and my aunts, my uncles and my cousins, and even a niece, I have a niece. It was just something that I definitely needed for like soul purposes, you know? This year was really hard for a multitude of reasons, but I feel that going back home did help put into perspective what it is that I want to do, how it is that I want to go about it, and just gave me back my purpose that I felt like I had lost for so long. So yeah, that was basically it. Since I've been home, I've just been trying to catch up with work. The holidays get really busy. We had Cyber Monday, we had Black Friday, and then Cyber Monday, and then just like holiday sales and holiday releases and content for the holidays and grand openings and this and that. And so it's been hectic, but it's the life that I signed up for. So, and on top of that, now I have podcast episodes to film. So it's been really fun. But something that has been heavy on my mind, there's been a really interesting point of discussion in the Rio Grande Valley for the last couple of weeks on social media. And if you guys are on TikTok specifically, you guys would have seen that there's been a whole bunch of drama, like women on women crime, basically, where I don't necessarily know where it started from, but all of a sudden, all of these creators were talking about RGV Mean Girls. And a lot of them were basically saying that if you're intimidated or if you're like calling Mean Girls out, then you are part of the problem. You are a mean girl. And I have to disagree with that because we all go through our own experiences. We all have different conversations with people. We all have different instances with people. Like something that I went through with one person that was a negative experience might have been a completely different experience for a friend or whatever, right? But something that I've noticed is that there are girls, women in the valley who are just kind of mean. And this girl who originally brought up like the first Mean Girls in the RGV video, she was kind of berated. She was kind of like attacked in a way by some people who I just like didn't agree with what they were saying necessarily, because like there are girls who get the treatment and everybody is nice to them because of who they are, what they do, who they know, etc. And obviously like those women don't necessarily see the brunt of what it is like to deal with actual mean girls, right? Because they're never going to be treated a certain way by these girls. There have been other times since I started working where I'm at an event or I'm at a party or like I'm at some sort of gathering that's either formal or informal, and there are some women that come off as standoffish. Now, I've heard from other people before that at times I can come off as standoffish. So when people talk about mean girls or like, oh, her energy was just really bad, I can't really say anything because I feel like I've probably been that person that emits or omits that like mean girl vibe, or maybe I have like a resting bitch face or something of that sort. So it's kind of all subjective, right? And honestly, but there have been, I don't even know how to go about this. I'm like so scared to talk about this, but at the same time, I like want to chip in so bad. I want to chime in so bad into this conversation. But then there are some girls who experience something and it's by somebody who just views them as less and they have a negative experience. And something I agree with that a lot of these girls made a point to say in their video was that we should be empowering each other as women, as creators, as business owners, and all of that stuff. I feel like it's such a competitive space right now in the Rio Grande Valley, as it is everywhere, but specifically with like women-owned businesses. There have been so many women-owned businesses that have been launched in the last like couple of years. And something that really inspires me is seeing how many of those businesses that were launched in the last 5 years are run by women. Now, for me, that's never really been like a point of contention. It's never been a point of me being intimidated. It just like makes me want to work harder to be like some of these women who are running successful businesses, people who have started their own businesses. Like, yes, there will always be that comparison factor. I think it's very normal as humans to do that, to compare to one another. But something that like genuinely has never been my case is just pure like being envious of somebody. And it's like if you were to sit down and talk to a fifth grader, somebody who's been bullied, and you just let them know like, look, the reason why this person is bullying you is because they have their own things that they're dealing with at home, or they're insecure about something and they're just taking it out on you. I feel like it's the case with adults too. This is such a touchy subject because I don't want to say the wrong thing, But honestly, like, there are mean girls. There are mean girls. I don't know how to like genuinely get my point across because at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to start anything. I'm not trying to start anything. I'm just trying to give my honest opinion because I saw so many women get online and just say that there are no mean girls, that we should all just be uplifting each other, that we should all be doing this and that. And the truth of the matter is there are mean girls. And a lot of the girls who were getting online and basically like kind of having that sort of approach to the mean girl conversation is because they've never been targeted by a mean girl. They've had plenty of great experiences, but also it's because they're doing well. And obviously, when you're well known and well liked, people are not going to be rude to you right off the bat. But if you're not somebody necessarily in the Rio Grande Valley, I've seen so many of my friends, and it's happened to me too. Like, we've been treated so poorly when we walk in with somebody and then all of a sudden, like, that person is being treated like royalty, but then this person, or, you know, a friend that I'm with is being treated like royalty because she knows so-and-so. And then I don't know so-and-so. So they're going to visibly treat me different. They're going to act different around me. And I mentioned earlier, like, I don't necessarily go out anymore. And that's because I was being bullied as an adult and like physically assaulted when I was going out by another female. That is a mean girl. There are mean girls that exist. There are other women who are being physically assaulted and verbally abused by other women. And like, we don't necessarily always get online and talk about it, right? But it's important to note that some of this stuff does happen. And if you're on the mean girl side of TikTok, I feel like I just don't even know how to talk about it anymore. It is true. There are, like, whether you want to admit it or not, there will always be mean girls wherever you live. And you can't let it mentally get to you because if not, like, you'd be stuck thinking about it forever and ever and ever. But like, it's just not worth it. And this episode is going to be so messy. I'm so sorry. But like, I feel like if you guys agree or if you guys know what I'm talking about, feel free to like comment under the YouTube video or send me a message. As somebody who has experienced mean girls in the Rio Grande Valley for not knowing somebody or for being below somebody or being the friend of somebody, like, it's honestly kind of annoying to hear these people talk about how there are no mean girls. Whoever, if you've experienced like mean girls in adulthood, it's completely valid. You're validated. I see you. I hear you. It's a real thing. And some of these people just really get lucky and never experience that through adulthood. And I think there's nothing wrong with that either. It's just, I want you guys to know that if you have been personally like bullied or a victim of an adult mean girl, I hear you. It sucks. And it honestly just, it does mess with you for a certain amount of time. And the best thing I can tell you guys is just keep pushing forward, keep striving for your goals, keep supporting other women. I mean, if it's up to you if you want to support the other ones who have completely disrespected you, and that's up to you. But don't let that stop you from supporting other women, because there are so many women here in the Valley, across the nation, across the world, who want to support other women and who do support women and who are very kind. And that's like the key word, very kind to other women and not intimidated by other women. And I think like the best thing to do is just like embody all of that and put that out into the world, because I truly believe that karma is a real thing and that everybody gets what they give, if that makes sense. Another thing I saw was like this whole drama about Pilates in the RGV, which is so silly because it's like Kim, there are children that are dying. I saw this TikTok the other day that said like Pilates studios are popping up faster than like the blue waves or like the car washes here in the Valley. And that's so true. And I think it's pretty cool. I will say, coming from like, I went to my hometown and I was honestly expecting there to be the same amount of like Pilates studios and like just like fitness studios that were open. And the reality is like, there isn't. So like the fact that there are so many women run and opened and established like businesses, especially in the fitness industry, is so cool down here. Like that is awesome. But I will say there is a fine line between like advertising Pilates and then like faking, like using the word Pilates or like the title of Pilates to promote your studio if you don't have the actual credits to run a Pilates studio. Something that I do agree with, and there's been drama. There was one creator who is a Pilates instructor. She's a certified Pilates instructor. She has years and hours or whatever experience, right? She's actually somebody who knows what she's talking about. Came on to TikTok, ranted a little bit, and talked about how like there are so many studios in the Valley who are using the Pilates name, but actually not putting forth the proper techniques and the proper Pilates practice. And as a result of that, her main concern was that so many of these people who are attending classes and doing the reformer Pilates and doing like the classes are being put in harm's way because of improper practices and not the best, what's the word? Like they are not properly teaching and educating students in the classes. And that could put them in harm's way. There could be a lot of injuries, etc. So she came out talking about this, and then a couple of people just kind of like clapped back in a way. And something I noticed that I thought was so funny from the clapbacks and from the people who I saw that were on the receiving end of that rant was that they came back trying to, sorry guys, but like they were like coming from this place of positivity and that this is like the reason why women are mean girls. There's nothing wrong with going out and achieving your dreams. But when somebody's calling you out for improper practice, the only thing you can have to say is like, this person is bullying me, like being mean to me, and not actually say, well, here are all of my credits I have to prove to you that I am a certified Pilates instructor. Instead, they just like flip it. They flip the narrative around and they're like, well, you're being mean to me. Her point still stands. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Anyways, do I have a say in most of this? No. Not really, because I don't participate in Pilates classes. I'm honestly too scared to because I've been too inactive, been so out of shape for the longest time that I feel like throwing myself into Pilates would be a big no-no. I could possibly injure myself, and also it's like really intimidating. So I'm not knocking anybody down for opening a studio. I think it's really cool, but it goes for any business practice, whether you open a Pilates studio, whether you're a dentist and you open like a dentist office or whatever, you should have the proper credits and practice and experience before you go advertising your services as something and they're not, you know, especially if those services that you're advertising may potentially put somebody in harm's way or like result in an injury, then you should probably kind of like take a step back and get the proper credits, the proper experience, the proper training to actually offer that service. If that means like taking it back a couple of months, you know, pushing back your launch, I think like it's well worth it in the end, especially because now you are no longer a liability. Like the chance of somebody getting injured or hurt by your practice is less, then I think it's worth kind of calling people out on bad business practice. But that is just my 2 cents on that whole thing. I feel like I really rushed the end here with like the Mean Girls and the Pilates gate. And I feel that I also didn't get my point across as well as I wanted to because I did get nervous and I don't want to like cause drama. I'm merely a spectator watching all of this unfold on TikTok. It's just something I've been thinking about, you know. One, in terms of mean girls, don't be a mean girl. If you've experienced a mean girl, you're valid. Your experiences are valid. And it is important to move forward with love and support and just kindness towards other women, and don't let those mean girls kind of like construe what your version of being supportive is. There's no need to put people down the way that people put you down, because at the end of the day, I feel like a lot of that comes and stems from insecurity in these other women, and there's just no need. There's no need to be insecure with all these other women, because there's so much room for all of us to grow and thrive and prosper. And if you're part of the problem and you are being a mean girl, just stop. Think about it. At our grown age, do we really need mean girls? It's the last thing we need. We're already dealing with loss of collagen. Our metabolism is slowing down. Bills still need to get paid. Everything needs to get done. The last thing we want to add is to literally make somebody's life harder. And like, kindness is all we need right now as a whole, men and women. And then again, Pilates Gate, as a consumer, do your proper research your instructors, talk to your instructors. And, you know, for all of those women who are opening Pilates studios, I wish you guys the best. I think it's amazing that you guys have started a business, but make sure that you guys are not putting people in harm's way. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you guys for listening or watching this episode of Shy Girl Speaks. I'm really excited to get back on track with all of these episodes and just continue giving you guys the rundown of things, the chisme, just like my opinions, rating your guys' stories, because it's been so much fun to connect with you guys on a different level since this podcast launched. So if you guys have not already, make sure you guys follow me at Shy Girl Speaks Pod on Instagram and subscribe to the Shy Girl Speaks podcast on YouTube so you guys can watch this episode on video form. And if you guys are audio listeners, make sure you guys go follow me on Spotify so that you guys never miss an upload. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye.